Now, we have much more to do, but we are energized by a new strength, a new pride, and a new confidence. And let us build on that record of success. For New York State, job one is jobs. Our statewide job growth strategy starts with a top-down reducing tax theory. Our financial restructuring of the state has actually paid off. When we were here 3 years ago, we were looking at a $10 billion deficit. It was historic, and it made us all quake in our boots. I know it did me. We have gone from a $10 billion deficit to a $2 billion surplus in just 3 short years. This year, within the 2% spending cap, we can increase our investments in education, health care, economic development, and still provide more tax relief. We impaneled a bipartisan Pataki-McCall Tax Relief Commission, which did good work. They made the basic point that the state has no economic future as the tax capital of the nation. People move and businesses flee. So let's continue to make our state more competitive. Let's cut more burdensome business taxes. New York State's corporate tax rate is currently 7.1%. Let's cut it to 6.5%, which would be the lowest corporate rate since 1968, and really send a strong signal to business saying this is a different day and we're doing it a different way. Let's pass a manufacturer's tax credit for 20% of the firm's property tax liability. New York is one of only 15 states with an estate tax, and our exemption levels are among the lowest and our rates are among the highest. Let's eliminate the move to die tax, where people literally leave our state, move to another state to do estate planning. We propose raising New York's estate tax threshold and lowering the rate to put it in line with other states. We also need a renter's tax credit to help New Yorkers afford the ever-increasing housing costs that they're experiencing. And a circuit breaker, which is a property tax credit to help low and middle-income New Yorkers based on their ability to pay. The Pataki-McCall Commission recommended a freeze on property taxes for 2 years to help homeowners and to incentivize local governments to reduce costs. A property tax freeze, but only if 2 important conditions. Year 1, the locality stays within the 2% cap, and in year 2, the locality takes concrete steps to reduce their costs through shared services and/or consolidation. Because while we're reducing taxes, my friends, we also have to tackle a major structural problem, which is the proliferation and expense of local governments. The main tax burden in New York State is not the income tax. It is the property tax. We raise about $40 billion per year from the income tax. We raise $50 billion from the property tax. And that is the tax that you'll hear New Yorkers complaining about from one end of this state to the other. As a matter of fact, no matter how you look at it, New Yorkers don't just pay a high property tax, they pay the highest property tax in the United States of America. Literally, the highest property tax in the country is in Westchester County, in absolute dollars. When you look at by percentage of home value, the highest costs are in upstate New York, literally in the country. So why are our property taxes so high? Because we have too many local governments, and we've had them for too long. 10,500 local governments. These are towns, villages, fire district, water district, library, sewer district, one district, just to count the other districts in case you missed a district. We have a proliferation of government that is exceedingly expensive and costly. Now, the state has been very aggressive in trying to alleviate the burden from local governments. We've assumed more local costs than the state government has ever done in modern political history. We assumed a $1.2 billion cost of the Medicaid growth. We are funding $700 million in aid to localities. The Tier 6 pension reforms makes a major difference for local governments. We also offered local governments that are functionally insolvent financial assistance if they work with our financial restructuring board. When I was Attorney General, first of all, I looked much younger when I was Attorney General. When I was Attorney General, we actually passed a law that made consolidations easier for local governments. Since we passed that law, how many local governments have actually consolidated? Tom Libas gets it, 2. It's time to stop making excuses. It is time to start making progress. If the locality wants the state property tax credit, it must perform. We've seen that linking state funding to performance works. Remember when we did the teacher evaluations the first year, and we asked every district to complete teacher evaluations, we basically had no compliance. Year 2, we linked the teacher evaluation system with a 4% increase in education, and we had near unanimous approval. We believe linking the assistance to performance is going to make a difference. And there is a ray of hope, because there are local leaders who are stepping up to the plate. And I'd like to take a moment to recognize the great Onondaga County Executive Joni Mahoney and the Mayor of Syracuse, Stephanie Miner, who are working together They are working together to see if they can achieve consolidation and shared services between Onondaga County and the city of Syracuse. We wish them well, and we hope other leaders follow their example, because that's exactly the right course. Thank you very much, County Executive, and thank you, Mayor. Second, we need to eliminate the regulatory barriers. We all agree, eliminate any regulatory barriers that we can that are barriers to business growth. We've talked about it for many, many years. The Senate has held hearings. The Assembly has held hearings. Let's join together, create a joint commission, do it together, and let's pledge to stop talking about it and actually get it done this session. Drop the regulatory barriers that are stopping businesses from growing in this state. Third, we have to rebuild our infrastructure, because we need a 21st century infrastructure to build on. Our airports are the gateways to New York for nearly 50 million people each year. Vice President Biden was here yesterday talking about how countries all around the globe are developing their airports with sophistication and hospitality suites. Even our nation is doing a good job overall in updating its airports and upgrading its airports. Unfortunately, the state of New York has fallen behind. LaGuardia Airport is ranked as the worst airport in America, believe it or not. That is a disgrace, my friends, and it is unacceptable, and it's going to change. We need to modernize JFK and LaGuardia. We've talked about it for too long. We will assume management responsibility from the Port Authority for construction at JFK and LaGuardia airports. We'll do what we did with the Tappan Zee Bridge. We're going to step in, stop talking about it, get the government to work, and we're going to redevelop those airports the way they should have been redeveloped many, many years ago, and make us proud of that gateway once again. We must expedite the building of our energy superhighway. We still have a problem getting low-cost, excess clean, renewable power downstate from upstate. which is costing ratepayers $600 million a year. It can take up to 2 years, believe it or not, to get a new transmission project approved. And some of the proposed projects are causing concerns by expanding into local communities. Let's incentivize smart projects that locate within state-owned or existing transmission right-of-ways so they're not interfering or spreading into local communities. And let's offer those smart projects an expedited approval process that will cut the time from 2 years to 10 months if they do it smart. It's a win-win for upstate, which needs the economic growth, and it's ratepayer savings for downstate New York. Second part of our economic development strategy has been a bottom-up approach through regional collaborations. Our regional economic development councils are working. They are the core of our jobs agenda. The proof is in the pudding, and it is all across the state. Let's do another round of the REDCs, a fourth round, because let's build on what is working in this state, and working with local communities on a regional basis is working, and we have to do more of it. Last year, we launched Startup New York. There's nothing like it in this country. It makes New York the least expensive place in the United States to locate a business. It took our reputation of high taxes and anti-business and flipped it 180 degrees with passing just one program. Businesses nationwide are already expressing interest in Startup New York. We want to take it to the next step, and let's start to globally market Startup New York, because I believe we can literally have companies coming from overseas to this state because of the Startup New York program, and if we market it, that will happen. We want to hold an international conference at the Javits Center to introduce executives from overseas to the Startup New York and all the assets and beauty that this state has to offer. I also want to recognize at this time Mr. John Mack, who's the former CEO and chairman of the board at Morgan Stanley. He is a great financial mind. He's a leader in the business community, and John Mack has been generous in volunteering to help the state on financial matters writ large, but also to help market the Startup New York program, and his credibility is a tremendous asset when we're marketing New York and we're marketing Startup New York. Let's give him another round of applause, Mr. John Mack. Thank you very much. 3 years ago, we said we would focus on upstate New York. Why? Because the upstate economy lags not just the New York City economy, not just the rest of New York State, but it lags nationwide. Literally, over a 10-year period, when the nation was growing 9%, upstate New York was growing at just about half the rate of the country. And this is a problem, frankly, my friends, that we ignored for too long. And upstate New York then entered a downward cycle where they lost economic power, which caused a depopulation of the area, which caused the loss of political power, which caused the loss of governmental help, which then caused more economic power to be lost. And upstate New York has been in that cycle. Not for 1 year, not for 2 years, for 10, 20, 30 years. The notable exception was, frankly, here in the Capital District and nanoscale, where the state made a significant contribution, and with some real talent from Dr. Elaine Calleros, literally generated an entire industry. But it shows what the state could do when the state invested. But the state, besides the Capital District, in many ways forgot the rest of upstate New York, and we said we were going to change that and reverse it, and we did, and it's already paying dividends, and we want to do it again, and we want to start it with taxes. Let's go to the upstate manufacturers, because we need manufacturing jobs in upstate New York, and let's cut the corporate tax rate in upstate New York to zero all across upstate New York, period. Why? Because you can't beat zero, my friends, and it is a competition. We've taken our tourism efforts to a new level. So far, we invested $40 million in our marketing campaign, and our investment is paying off. Tourism spending is up year to year $4 billion, believe it or not. It's twice the national rate of growth. Tourism jobs increased by 25,000, which is also twice the national rate of growth. We want to redouble our tourism efforts. We need the activity upstate New York, and with upstate New York, seeing is believing. If they visit again. If they visit, they enjoy it. It's just a matter of exposure, because once they come, they're hooked.